There is a key that Nick Wright is missing when he says this. Now, sometimes I bring up a Nick Wright quote. It happens from time to time, and someone goes, how dare you bring it up? I think he's a good arguer, but I think he's half right here, but then ultimately wrong. He says, I think it's almost as if there's a lot of QBs you can drop into Kyle Shanahan's system, and with enough help, they can look really good. I agree with that part. Part two, it's why I would have maybe waited to pay Brock Purdy, because I think you can maybe get this level of production from a guy like Mac Jones. Two maybes in there tell you, well, what he's missing is the ceiling versus the floor. Shanahan's system is great. It's what would make me afraid of hiring a non-offensive head coach like Dan Campbell, who loses his OC, or maybe even Robert Saleh, who's clearly excellent, but if his offense is good, he's going to lose his offensive coordinator to become a head coach. Shanahan's system, and Shanahan specifically, raise the quarterback floor. But it doesn't change ceilings between players. I think Brock Purdy's ceiling is higher than Mac Jones. The beauty of a system, and as you know, I'm getting busier doing college football this year, having a baby at the end of the year, filling in for Greg Papa on 49ers often. I've been studying successful organizations and people, asking people, and the common thread is systems. People who are efficient, who are successful, have organizational systems. It helps you be efficient. It helps you if a quarterback gets hurt, you plug in another quarterback. You're not going to get all the production, you're going to get some. And so even though this is a predictable discussion after Mac Jones has a good game, and Mac Jones did have a very good game, a good game for him, a good game for a Kyle quarterback, and just a good game for a backup quarterback playing in spot duty, all of those things, and maybe they'll need another one this week, all those things are true, but it doesn't change the fact that the ceiling is still different, or at least my opinion, that the ceiling is still different. And I think that's where, this argument, like Sam Darnold's an example. We've been through this a little bit with Brock. There are obvious differences between Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. And the obvious differences are the ones in Darnold's favor. Bigger arm, bigger body. The subtle differences are the ones in Brock's favor. Maybe a little bit better under pressure. Long-term can handle the ups and downs. Can handle, like when I say pressure, I mean external pressure and also defensive pressure. So two different types of pressures. His mobility, even though Darnold is mobile, maybe Brock's is a little more effective. And I think ultimately time will show that Brock is the better quarterback, although Sam can also win you a bunch of games. And I think Mac Jones can maximize himself under Kyle Shanahan, but he's not going to be as good. His ceiling is not there in the way that Brock's potentially is. The other thing that Nick Wright's argument ignores is just the market reality, right? When if you wait to pay a proven performer like Brock Purdy, whatever you think he's proven, we could debate how proven he is, but he's proven something, in hopes of finding a cheaper alternative, you can lower your ceiling and get yourself into trouble. So one of these things that Nick Wright said can be true, and the other thing can be wrong. Shanahan's system makes quarterbacks look really good, and also over time, Mac Jones isn't as good as Brock Purdy, but is good enough to win you a bunch of games. I think the difference in like a 20th ranked quarterback and a 13th ranked quarterback is big in money, and is probably hard to identify over the course of a game or two or three, but that little difference is the thing that you really pay for. I thought I mentioned this last time, so I'm not going to go through it too much here, but I think there's probably a little difference in mentality between Brock and Mac, given what Mac has been through. He's trying to overcome some of the scars. And he said it the other day. I'm not guessing anything that he hasn't said. He said, Mick Lombardi, the quarterback coach, knows me and helps me keep in the right headspace, right? Like he's saying, I get a little distracted is not the right word, maybe a little down on myself, maybe a little frustrated. And I think in Brock, you've got a guy who is kind of ready to handle the pressure without those scars of being Kyle Shanahan's quarterback, of being the 49ers quarterback. So there's also an unseen difference there that we haven't seen yet with Mac. He is good enough to win you multiple games. It's why he's an excellent signing, and it's why he's a perfect fit. It would be malpractice to sign a quarterback as a backup that doesn't fit your system, that you can't raise the floor on, right? Like, why would you bring a quarterback in who can't win, who can't look good on your team? The answer is because there's not many guys that can, but they got one. So it'd be crazy if you bring in a quarterback that can't fit your system or your system doesn't customize to a quarterback. You have to do one of the two. You either have to bring in Mac Jones because he fits your system, or you bring in another guy who's mobile and you go, well, we'll just customize it to him when he's in the game, which is hard. So first part right, second part wrong. A couple other things I want to hit while we're here. Mac Jones, here's what he did well. 10 and 19-yard throws last week. These are all from PFF, as now discussed by me, GFF, Guy Football Focus. 9 of 13, 158, 2 touchdowns, 150 passer rating. Rewatching the game, his first throw of the game was his second throw of the game. It was the first third down of the game. It was nuts into like triple coverage. You know what's interesting about him is at times I think his arm's better than Brock's, and at times I think it's not. And where I've settled is I think when Brock can step into a throw, it's just as good, maybe better. Probably not better. I think Mac, my guess is if we really like nose up, nose down, right? Like that's true deep ball, maybe Mac can put more on it. He missed Pearsall on one, but it was because Colby, he had to throw it early because Connor Colby missed a stunt. But, his arm probably shows up when there's like pressure in his face and he's just a little bit taller. And maybe that's where it shows up. But here's what changes this week, though. The Cardinals' defensive line is much more dynamic than the Saints' defensive line. And they were missing Chase Young. It was like Chase Young, to give you an idea, like Chase Young's their best pass rusher, probably. Zaven Collins and Calais Campbell, and like these guys are watching. The Cardinals have some issues creating opportunities, like for Marvin Harrison. Their OC is Drew Petzing is under a little bit of heat right now because people feel like they're not creative, but they are going to get more pressure this week. Last week, 18 of 43 dropbacks, Mac Jones had pressure, 18.6%. That is way down from the 50+% against the Seahawks that Brock Purdy found. Interesting stat, longest run of the day last week was a 13-yard scramble for Mac Jones. Ricky Pearsall. It'll be, again, interesting this week, and we'll see. We're waiting to see some injuries for the Cardinals secondary. They're a little beat up. But all 4 of Ricky's catches last week were first down. We knew that, but I thought the interesting PFF ad was 3 of them were on contested catches. How about Bugatti Bryce? I can't figure out, was this nickname just invented this week? I'm going to use it filling in for Papa this Sunday on the radio, but I'm definitely using it. 5 pressures and 20 rushes. I saw Nick Wagner had a stat, a Niners internal stat that shows that Bryce Huff is getting off the line even quicker than Nick Bosa, who's also very quick, and second quickest off the line right now in the NFL is Bugatti Bryce. 5 QB pressures and 20 rushes last week. That's pretty great. Feel really good about my D winners. By the way, for those of you watching and not listening, AI made this D winners image. It's not D winners, but it looked good, so I thought I'd put it in here. Targets. This will be interesting this week. Trey Benson has been taking a lot of kind of the RB2 carries for the Cardinals. They are not running the football effectively. James Conner, for all of he breaks tackles like Derrick Henry stuff that I said last week. He's second in the league the last 3 years in broken tackles behind Derrick Henry. He's like 3.1 yards a carry. Like they are not running the ball. So Trey Benson, their other guy, catches the ball. He was kind of their third down. They had like a late first half kind of 2-minute situation, and Benson was in there. So early downs, it's James Conner. Late downs, it's Benson. And so D Winters covering him potentially out of the backfield on third downs is going to be a big deal. I'm feeling good making D Winters predictions right now because I'm hot on D Winters. He allowed 5 catches on 5 targets last week, but he's right there. And linebacker, if you look at linebacker completion percentages, they're generally pretty high. But I thought the part that stood out from PFF is even though he allowed 5 catches, he only allowed 21 total yards on those 5 catches. So if it's 3rd and 9 and you're checking it down to the back and he catches the ball, quote unquote, a catch on D Winters, but D Winters tackles him for a 4-yard gain. Great. Here comes the punt team. Michael Williams last week, PFF. Week 1, no pressures, no tackles, no stops. Week 2, 3 pressures, 4 tackles. Interesting. And then the other thing that I wanted to share that I thought was interesting from PFF, and thanks to Jeff Deeney for sharing a lot of these PFF numbers, the 49ers blitzing. Adam Amin is calling the 49ers game this week on Fox, and he taught me something this offseason that I thought was really interesting. He said he likes, instead of saying a team is 15th in something, just compare them to the league average, because a lot of times the difference between 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, it's going to be like, if those are the ranks, let's say the value, let's say we're talking points, it might be like 21.2, 21.5, 22.1, 22.2, 22.2, 22.6. And so, if that's the difference between 14th and 25th, it sounds like if you're 14th, you're way better than the team that's 25th, and you're really not. So I think with that in mind, this stat on Robert Saleh's defense is really interesting. And this week, against the most mobile quarterback they've faced, will be interesting with Kyler, who pitter-patters all over the place. On early downs, the Niners have blitzed 18% of the time. Last year, and we probably should compare this to some of like Saleh's historical rates with the Jets, but last year, the league average early down blitzing was 30%. Last year, the league average was 30%. This year, Robert Saleh is doing it 18% of the time. Okay, so way less. On third and fourth down, and the sample sizes, we're only talking about 5 of 12. On third and fourth downs, the Niners blitz 42% of the time, which is up over the league average from last year of 35.5%. So interesting. There's a lot of question before the year. How much would Saleh pressure and all that? And the answer is on late downs, he's pressuring more than average, and it's working. So there were a few other the PFF numbers. Okay, I'm off to Santa Clara. Maybe there'll be more today. I don't know. Some news on Brock. We'll see. But that's that for now, and I'll talk to you all soon. Later.